Standing on the ground beside it, you cannot see what it is. You can see a low earthen ridge, 3 feet high and roughly 20 feet wide. You can walk alongside it. You can follow it as it curves and winds across the plateau. You can walk for a quarter of a mile and never once understand what you are looking at. You have to go up. From the air, from the observation tower, from the right altitude and angle, it becomes something else entirely. A serpent, a great snake, 1,348 feet long, coiled through 7 winding curves, its triple-coiled tail pointing west toward the winter solstice sunrise, its open mouth reaching east toward the spot on the horizon where the summer solstice sun sets. In its mouth, or perhaps just at the edge of its open jaws, an oval earthen feature 120 feet long. An egg, a sun, nobody knows which. The serpent is built on a high plateau in Adams County, Ohio, above Ohio Brush Creek. The plateau is elevated because the ground beneath it is different from the surrounding terrain, harder, more resistant to erosion, rising above the landscape in a way that should not exist. That elevated ground exists because 300 million years ago, a meteorite struck this exact spot, compressing the rock into a crater 8.7 miles across. The crater has long since been erased by erosion. What remains is the elevated plateau, the harder compressed rock, and the snake. Whether whoever built the serpent knew they were building on the site of an ancient impact, nobody can say. Whether they chose the site because of it is a question that has no answer. The Great Serpent Mound is the largest effigy mound in the world. An effigy mound is a mound built in the shape of an animal. Effigy mounds were constructed by several cultures independently across the eastern half of North America and parts of the upper Midwest. Serpent Mound is the largest surviving example anywhere. Its nearest rivals in scale are a fraction of its size. The mound itself is made of yellowish clay and ash, packed and reinforced with rock and soil. It varies in height from a few inches to just over 3 feet. It varies in width from 20 to 24 feet. Running its full length of 1,348 feet means covering roughly a quarter of a mile. There are no burials inside it. There are no artifacts inside it, no pottery, no tools, no human remains, no trade goods, no organic material inside the serpent's body that could be dated with certainty to tell us when it was built or who built it. The mound contains nothing but the earth it was made of. The first published description of Serpent Mound dates to 1815, when a surveyor mapped the site. In 1846, Ephraim Squire and Edwin Davis surveyed it for the Smithsonian Institution and published a detailed account and map in their landmark volume, Ancient Monuments of the Mississippi Valley. Their work drew the attention of Frederick Ward Putnam, an archaeologist at Harvard University's Peabody Museum, who arrived at Serpent Mound in 1883 and was horrified by what he found. Farmers were plowing through the mound. Putnam described his first sight of it in terms that suggested he understood immediately he was looking at something extraordinary. He wrote that the most singular sensation of awe and admiration overwhelmed him at the sudden realization of his long-cherished desire, and that there seemed to come to him a picture as of a distant time. He spent the next 3 years raising money to preserve it. In 1886, with the help of a group of wealthy Boston women, led by Alice C. Fletcher, Putnam raised funds to purchase 60 acres around the site. In 1900, the land was granted to the Ohio State Archaeological and Historical Society. In 1908, a 25-foot observation tower was erected near the serpent's tail for $500. In 1966, the United States Department of the Interior designated it a National Historic Landmark. The Ohio History Connection and the Ark of Appalachia Preserve System manage it today. You can still visit. You can still stand at the head of the serpent, at the edge of the bluff above Ohio Brush Creek, and watch the summer solstice sun set exactly where the open jaws of the snake are pointing. The question of who built it has been argued about for more than a century, and at the moment remains unresolved. Putnam attributed the mound to the Adena culture, a woodland period society that flourished in the Ohio Valley from roughly 800 BCE to the 1st century CE, based largely on the presence of Adena burial mounds near the site. For most of the 20th century, the Adena attribution was accepted as standard. In 1991, archaeologists Bradley Lepper and D. Ann Weimer took core samples from undisturbed sections of the serpent and submitted charcoal for radiocarbon dating. The results dated the mound to approximately 1070 CE, not 800 BCE, not the Adena, approximately 900 years ago, a date that placed the mound's construction squarely within the Fort Ancient culture, a Mississippian people who inhabited the central Ohio Valley between roughly 900 and 1600 CE. The 1070 date coincided with two extraordinary astronomical events. In 1054 CE, a supernova explosion created what is now called the Crab Nebula. The explosion was so bright it was visible in daylight for 2 weeks. Every culture on Earth that kept records noted it. It appeared as a new star, suddenly blazing in the sky where no star had been. In 1066 CE, Halley's Comet appeared. Whether either or both of these events inspired the construction of a 1,348-foot serpent in southern Ohio, nobody knows. The connection is suggestive, it is not evidence. Then in 2014, a second research team radiocarbon dated different charcoal samples from the mound. Their results, 381 BCE to 44 BCE, a mean date of 321 BCE, back to the Adena. The scientific community has not resolved the discrepancy. The two sets of dates are approximately 1,400 years apart. The samples came from the same structure. They do not agree. The current best assessment is that the mound may have been constructed by one culture and significantly rebuilt or modified by another, that what exists today is not a single construction event, but a palimpsest of multiple eras of work by people separated by more than a millennium. Who started it is unknown. Who finished what we see today is unknown. What exactly the oval feature in the serpent's mouth represents is unknown. The astronomical alignments are the most discussed feature of the mound and the most contested. The head of the serpent, the open-mouthed eastern end, is oriented toward the point on the southwestern horizon where the sun sets at the summer solstice. In 1987, researchers Clark and Marjorie Hardman published their finding that the oval-to-head area of the serpent was aligned to the summer solstice sunset. They also found that the coiled tail is aligned to the winter solstice sunrise. The three curves of the serpent's body may encode alignments to the equinoxes and other key moments in the solar calendar. If all of these alignments are intentional, the serpent is a calendar, a 1,348-foot calendar built of earth and clay, oriented to the turning points of the solar year, positioned on a bluff above a creek in southern Ohio. The mound also aligns with the constellation Draco. The star Thuban, Alpha Draconis, which served as the North Pole star from approximately 4000 BCE to 2000 BCE, lines up with the first curve in the snake's body from the head, suggesting a potential stellar alignment as well. Whether any of this was intentional, researchers are careful to note, cannot be proven. The plateau on which the serpent sits is oriented toward the summer solstice sunset, regardless of whether anyone built a serpent there or not. The builders may have selected this specific piece of ground precisely because of that natural alignment, then built the serpent to follow and reinforce it. Or the alignment may be a consequence of the terrain, not a design decision. The lines of sight are, as the Wikipedia entry on Serpent Mound states plainly, too short and vague to determine the actual alignment with certainty. Inside the oval feature at the serpent's head, Putnam's excavations found a pile of burned stones, positioned a few feet northwest of center, possibly, one researcher argued, to make a more precise alignment with the serpent's neck and the summer solstice sunset. Rituals may have been conducted at this spot. What those rituals were, what meaning the oval held, what the snake itself represented to the people who built it, these are questions that the physical evidence cannot answer. The serpent motif appears in cultures around the world, across time periods and geographies that have no contact with each other. The snake represents cycles of birth, death, and renewal, the shedding of skin as transformation, the connection between the world above and the world below, the boundary between what is known and what lies beyond it. In Sion oral tradition, a creature called the Great Horned Serpent was the ruler of the beneath world, responsible for impregnating the first woman and setting the cycle of life in motion. Whether the serpent mound represents this being, or something related to it, or something entirely different, is not established. What is established is that someone moved enough earth to build a quarter-mile snake on a plateau above a creek in Ohio, oriented it to the solstices, and built no burial mounds inside it and left no artifacts inside it that might tell us their name or what they believed. In 1987, a group of New Age practitioners held what they called a harmonic convergence ceremony at Serpent Mound. They buried crystals in the mound to access what they believed was spiritual energy concentrated at the site. The crystals damaged the ancient earthwork. In 2012, a group called the Light Warriors buried hundreds of objects made of resin and metal beneath the mound for similar reasons. The History Channel's Ancient Aliens series featured Serpent Mound as a site where extraterrestrials mined spaceship fuel. The oldest surviving effigy mound in the world, sitting on a 300-million-year-old meteorite crater in Ohio, aligned to the summer solstice sunset, built in the shape of a snake swallowing an egg or a sun, has attracted every kind of human interpretation it is possible to attract, and it has answered none of them. Today, Serpent Mound is maintained as a state park and historic site in Adams County, Ohio. You can visit every day except Monday. You can climb the observation tower and see what Putnam saw, what the farmers who were plowing through it did not see: the full shape of the serpent, winding across the plateau, head to tail, a quarter-mile of curved earth that from the ground looks like nothing in particular, and from the air looks like something that should not be there. Serpent Mound was first surveyed in 1846. It has been excavated multiple times since. Nobody has found what they were looking for. Nobody knows what the builders called it. Nobody knows what they believed it meant. The summer solstice comes every year. The sun sets at the same point on the horizon it has always set, the point the snake's open jaws have been facing for however long the snake has been there. And the snake says nothing, it only points.